Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to create a note-taking app that works with speech recognition. So it will convert our speech to text and then stores it in a Notion table as backend. So this means that we are also going to learn a little bit about the Notion API, but of course you can choose to store your note in any other backend or text editor as well. So this may sound a little bit complex, but I promise that the code is actually not that hard since we can use a lot of open source packages here. So let's get started. So first, let me show you the final app so I can run the code, and now it will listen in the background for the activation command. And now I can say, hey Sam,
what can I do for you?
Create a video for next week.
Create a video for next week. Stored new item.
All right, so this worked. So as you can see, it listened for the activation command, and then I could say another command, and now this is going to be my note. And now the note is automatically written in my Notion table here in the background. So this works, and yeah, this is what we're going to build. So let's do this. So first we're going to install a few packages that we need. So the first thing we need is Pi Audio, and depending on your operating system, the installation command can be slightly different. So on Windows, you say python-m pip install Pi Audio. On Mac, like me, you also have to say brew install port audio, and then you can use pip install Pi Audio. And on Linux, you can either use this command, or I think pip install Pi Audio also works. And so this is the first thing we're going to need. I put the link in the description if you need help with installing this. And the next thing we want is the speech recognition module. So this is a famous module for speech recognition that you can find on GitHub. So let's install this. So like I said, I'm on Mac, so I need to say brew install port audio. And yeah, I'm not going to hit enter because I already did this. Then we also say pip install Pi Audio. So again, here I don't hit enter. Then if you are on Mac, you also need to say pip install Objective-C, otherwise it won't work. And if you're on Windows or Linux, you can skip this. But then we also need GTTS and play sound so that our app can talk with us. So let's hit enter and install these as well. And this is all we need. So now we can open our text editor and start implementing this. So first let's create two files. One we call main.py and the other one is notion.py. So this is for the logic to work with the Notion API. And first let's start implementing the main.py. So first we import all the packages we need. So we import speech recognition SSR. Then we import GTTS. And by the way, this stands for Google Text to Speech. And then we say from play sound, we import play sound. So this is in order to play a sound back to us later. So for now, this is all that we need. So now we need to set up a speech recognizer. So we say R equals sr.recognizer. And now we need to create a few functions. So the first function, let's call this get_audio. And here we want to listen to the microphone. So we can say with sr.microphone as source. And then once we get an input to our microphone, we say print say something. And then in order to convert this to an audio data in Python, we only have to say audio equals, and then we can say r.listen, and then it listens to the audio, and then we simply return the audio. And here, of course, we listen to the source. Sorry about that. So this is all we need to convert it to audio. And what's really great about the speech recognition module is that it will make this super simple. So this will listen as long as it will notice a sound. So if there is just silence, then nothing will happen. But once there is a sound, it will basically activate this, and then it will convert this to audio and return it. So this is what we need to convert or to get the audio from our microphone. And then let's create another function to convert this to text. So let's call this audio to text, and this will get the audio as input. And now here first, let's create an empty text in the beginning, and then we wrap this in a try except block. So we say try, and then we say our text equals, and now here we say r dot recognize Google, and then we put the audio as input. So this will use the Google speech recognition API. And this works pretty good. And actually we don't need a API key for this to work. So this works even without an API key. So now we have the text, and now let's take also care of some exceptions. So let's say we also want to say or catch the unknown value error. And here let's simply say print, and then let's say speech recognition could not understand audio. Then we also want to catch or let's say accept sr.request error if our API does not work for some reason. So here let's print could not request results from API. And otherwise we are good. So here we simply return the text. So now let's actually test this. So let's create let's say here if underscore name equals underscore main, then we run this code here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to get the audio. So get audio, and then we convert this to a text. So we say command equals audio to text with the audio A as input. And for now, let's simply print the command and save this. And now let's run the file. So let's say python main.py. Hello. And yeah, you see here we get say something, then I said hello, and here it prints the command. So this works. So pretty cool. So now what we want to do is we actually want to listen for an activation command. So let's define a activation command, and you can use whatever you want here. So I choose hey Sam. This is my activation command. So now what I want to do here is I actually want to wrap this in a while true block. So now we have an endless loop basically in the background. And once we hit our activation command, then we store our node. So in order to check for this, we say if the activation command is in the command dot lower, then we activate it. So first let's print and then activate. And now what we want to do is now we again want to catch the microphone input, and this is now our node that we want to take. So first here I also want to play a sound for me in order to tell me that it's now activated. So in order to do this, we create a new helper function. So let's create a new function, and we call this play underscore sound. And this gets a text as input. And here again, we wrap this in a try except block. So we say try TTS equals GTTS dot GTTS with capital, and this gets the text. So this uses the Google text to speech module. And in order to play the sound, we need to store this on our system as a MP3 file. So let's call this a temp file, and the name is, let's say ./temp.mp3. And now we can say tts.save our temp file. And then we can play the sound by calling play sound of the temp file. And then we also want to remove this again. So we say os.remove temp file. And for this, we need to import os, of course. So now after playing this, we also catch a exception. So here we catch except an assertion error, and then we simply print could not play the sound. So here, this is our helper function with the underscore play sound, and this play sound is the imported function here. So yeah, so here we need to store a temporary MP3 file on our system, and then we immediately remove it again. So let's test this. So here, let's play the sound. So here we need this with the underscore. And now let's play the sound. What can I do for you? ? And let's save this and let's test this again. And now I also want to show you the files so you can see that there will be a temporary file now. So let's run the main.py again. And now, as long as I don't use the activation command, nothing will happen. And now I say, hey Sam.
What can I do for you?
And it worked. So as you might have seen, there was the temporary file. It noticed the activation command and the sound playing works. So now let's end this by hitting Control-C because this is still in the endless loop. So now what we want to do here is after the activation command, now we want to get another input from the microphone, and this will be our note. So we say command, or let's call this note equals, and then we again call get audio. Then we want to convert this to text. So we say note equals audio to text with the note as input. And then we check if we have a valid note. So if this string is not empty. And then here, let's play the sound again. So let's play our note here. And then here, what we still have to do is now we want to do save in Notion. But yeah, basically this is what we need for our speech recognition code. And now let's again test this. So let's run this and see if this works. So let's say python main.py, and then I say, hey Sam.
What can I do for you?
Create a new video for next week.
Create a new video for next week.
All right, great. And now, as you can see, there's again this says something. So we are still in the endless loop, and now this can continue in the background on our system. And then again, at some point, I can still say, I can again say the activation command, hey Sam.
What can I do for you?
And again, this worked. So yeah, this is really cool. So now let's stop this, and now let's implement the NumPy file. So here we need import JSON, and we also need requests. So we say import requests, and of course we have to install this. So we also have to say pip install requests and then hit enter. And now before we implement this, let's actually set up the Notion API. So for this, let's go to the official documentation. And again, I put the link in the description, but you can also just follow me here. So the first thing we need to do is in our Notion app, we need to go to settings. Then we need to create a new integration here and then click on this to set up a new integration. And now we are on this website. So here we click create new integration, and let's call this speech recognition integration. And here we can choose the workspace and upload a logo if we want. I just click on submit. And here we get the secret. So this is a token. So let's show this and copy this. And then let's save this here. So now in our code, let's go back to the main.py file. And here we store the token. So the token equals this one. So of course, in a real app, you don't want to expose your token here, but for this tutorial, it's just fine. So this is the first thing we need. And now let's go back to the getting started page. So the next thing we need to do, step 2, is share a database with your integration. So in order to do this, let's create a new page here. So I call this to do. And then in here, we want to create a table, so a full page table, and let's call this to do. And then what we have to do is we have to share this. So here we click on share, then we click on invite, and here we select our speech recognition integration and now click on invite. And yeah, I think this is all that we need. And then let's click on share again and copy link. So now we need to get the database ID. So I paste the link of this in my browser. And then in the browser URL, you see this number here. So until the question mark V, and this is our database name. So let's copy this and put it in the code. So in our code, let's call this is our database ID equals this string. So this is all we need to set up the Notion API, and now we can implement this. So for this, let's actually create a class, and let's call this Notion client. And here, of course, we need, or we want an init. This gets self. This also gets the token, and it gets the database underscore ID. So the first thing we do is we simply store the database ID. So we say self.database underscore ID equals database ID. And for the token, we put the token in a header. So if we go back to the documentation and up here we click on API reference, and then here we can click on this create page example. And then on the right, we see how this code would look like with a curl command. So basically now we want to translate this curl command into Python code with the requests module. So first we need these headers here. So let me copy and paste this for you so that it's faster. So the headers here, it contains a authorization. So here we put in our token. Then it needs the content type and the Notion version. And this is what we put in the init. So now in here, let's create another function, and we call this create underscore page, and this gets self. Then it should get a description. Then it should get a date, and it should get a status. And for now, let's simply say pass. So for you, if you want to learn more about the Notion API, I challenge you to implement a function to read the page and also to update a page. So for now, I just don't do this. I only create the page now here. So now we need to store a description, a date, and a status in our Notion page. So in our table, the first field, let's call this description. Then the next one should be, let's call this is the date. And then as type here, we select a date. And then we also want a status. And here we use this as a text. So this is how we want to set up our Notion page, our table in our Notion backend. And now we have to fill these fields in our function. So let's go back to our function here. And now the first thing we need is, of course, we need the URL. So create underscore URL equals. And you can find this in the documentation. So I just copy this for you here. So this is this URL api.notion.com/version1/pages. And now we need to store some data. So again, let me copy this for you. So this is now a dictionary and it has to be in this format. So again, you can find the relevant information on this site here. So if you have a look at how this data here looks like, then you also see it needs a parent with the database ID and then all the properties. So this is what we do here. We put in the parent with the database ID, and then we put in our three properties. So the description, here we put in the description that we pass to this function. Then the date, this needs a start and end field, and we only use the start field. And then a status property, and this is a rich text. And then here again a nested text, and then here we put in the status. So this is how our data looks like. And right now this is a Python dictionary. So we want to convert this to a valid JSON string. So we say data equals, and then we say JSON dump s. So we dump it to a string and then put in the data. Now we have a valid JSON file or JSON data. And then we use the requests module and say requests dot, and this has to be a post request to the create URL. And it also needs the headers equals self dot headers. And it also needs the data. So data equals data. And this will give us a response back. So for now, let's simply print response.status underscore code. So if this says 200, then all was good. And then we also want to return the result. And this is basically all that we need in the create page function. And now we need to set up this Notion client with the token and the database ID. So let's go back to our main.py, and in here, let's create a client by saying, or first we of course have to import this. So we say from Notion, we want to import the Notion client. So this is the name of the file here. And then we say client equals Notion client, and it needs the token and the database ID that we already have. So now we have this, and now we go back down here, and here now we have to save this. So we also need to get the date for this. So for this, we use the date time module. So here we say from date time, we import the date time function, and let's reorder this a little bit. So this is our own module here at the bottom. And now here we want to get the current time. So here we say now equals, and then we can call date time dot now. And in order to correctly use this in the Notion backend, we also use our own time zone here. So we can simply get this by calling as time zone, and this is a function, and then we call dot in ISO format. So this is the format that Notion expects. So we can simply get this by using the datetime module. So this is super easy in Python. And then we say our result equals, and now we use our client and call client.createPage. Now as a description, we use the node. Then as our date, we use now. And for the status, so for now, we simply use this as active and hard code this here. So then, for example, if you later want to update the status once you've done the to-do, then you can change this to maybe done or something, or not active. So yeah, so now this is what we need, and let's check our response code. So here we say if res.status underscore code equals 200, and then we want to play another sound. So let's play, and then let's say stored new item. And yeah, that's basically all that we need. So let's test this and see if this works. So first let's open our Notion app. Then let's open our terminal and run python main.py. And now let's say, hey Sam,
What can I do for you?
create a new video for next week.
Create a new video for next week.
And we have one error, so an unexpected keyword argument header. And let's go back to our code, and I think this has to be header with an S, so headers. So again, open our Notion app, open our terminal, run python main.py. Hey Sam,
What can I do for you?
create a new video for next week.
Create a new video for next week. Stored new item.
And it worked. Great. So here it's put this at the end. So let's delete these 3 rows, and then we have this as our first to do. So let's do another one. So as you see, this is still running. So now I say again our activation command. Hey Sam,
What can I do for you?
do body weight workout.
Do body weight workout. Stored new item.
All right, awesome. And now we have a new to-do here. So this is working. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this and had fun in implementing this. And then, yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.